This is the Hornady lock and load cam lock trimmer. It's just a manual case trimmer. It's got a hand crank on the cutter end, and the shell is held in place with a shell holder and a little cam lock mechanism. It's pretty easy to use. I've had it for about a month and probably done several hundred cases with it, so I thought I'd just make a little video and just share what I learned and go over how I mounted it, show the operation of it and everything. So here's what you're going to find when you open the box. I've actually disassembled this. It'll be all assembled in the box when you take it out, but I just wanted to take it apart to show the pieces of it and show that it is serviceable. It is nice that it comes apart so you can clean it and lubricate it. It probably only took me 20 seconds to take it apart. So the main part here is the base, and it appears to be made of cast aluminum. I thought it was cast iron when I bought it, but it is aluminum after looking it over closer. And the shaft where the cutter is, the crankshaft, goes through this aluminum block here, and it does have an oil hole in it. So you're going to want to lubricate that with a drop of oil, I'd say every 100 rounds or so, just to keep that shaft well lubricated, since it is just going through that cast aluminum. You got the crankshaft here with the crank handle, and this is the cutter bit that comes with it. It just threads right into the end of the crankshaft. Then you've got your cam lock mechanism. That's where your shell holder goes, that actually holds the shell casing. And the last piece here is the, I guess it's, you'd call it the cam lock shaft that goes through this end of the base. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this. Like I said, it's pretty quick. Just put the shaft in this end, put your cam lock back on, thread it on a little bit. Don't tighten it yet because you have to have this loose to get your shell holder in there anyway. And the crankshaft, just slide it back through. Your cutter threads right in the end. Just use the crank to spin it on there. You don't need to really get it tight, just snug it up a little bit. So I was trying to figure out how to mount this thing to my bench. I didn't really want to take up a lot of room on my bench because I don't have a really big bench, and I didn't want to waste any space with something being permanently mounted to it. So this is what I came up with. I had this 1-inch thick sheet of aluminum. I wish it was steel, but it's not. It's aluminum, so it's kind of light, but it still probably weighs 10 pounds. It's about 8 inches wide and a little over a foot long, and I just drilled and tapped some holes in it and used some 1/4-20 bolts and bolted it down in the center of that aluminum plate, and it seems to work fine. It doesn't really try to move around on me, but now it makes it somewhat portable. I can take it and set it off to the side and have my workbench space back, which is nice. I should have mentioned this earlier, but the case trimmer came with these, it looks like 9 pilot bits. And what these do, they go in the end of your cutter bit, and they slide into the case mouth, and they keep your case centered on the cutter. It came with 9 of the more popular sizes. I know you can buy other ones, but yeah, there's 9 of the more popular sizes that come with the kit. So before you get started trimming, you'll need to find the pilot that matches your case. And I've found a 6mm pilot here for my 243 brass. And to install that, all you do, that just slides right in the end of the cutter, and then there's this little Allen wrench that comes in the kit, and there's a set screw. Doesn't take much, just kind of snug it up a little bit. then you're good to go. So we're ready to start trimming our brass now. I've got 3 rounds of 243 Winchester, and this is brand new brass that I've already ran through a sizing die. And it's a little on the long side, even though it's new. It measures about 2.039. Trim length is 2.035. So it'll take about 4 thousandths off. So the first thing you'll need to do, get your shell holder. Takes a number 1 shell holder for 243, and you'll want to remove the cam lock all the way from the shaft. Slide your shell holder into that, put it back on the shaft, and thread it on to the cam lock, and you'll thread it on until the shaft just starts coming through the shell holder, and at that point you can put your brass in. And what I like to do, I like to lock the dial down, lock the shaft in place, and then I will rotate the cam lock until the shell is tight. Then I can loosen that shaft back up, and I can position the lever where I want it. I like to have it on the top here somewhere. And then after you do that, you want to loosen the cam lock again, so the shell is able to move. Also, the shell holder will rotate wherever, so normally you'd have it up so the shell can't fall out. Then you're going to move your cutter in against your shell. You want to make sure this shaft is also loose at that point. Bring the cutter all the way against the jam nuts so it's tight. Bring the case all the way against the cutter, and at that point you can lock the cutter down. That shaft is solid now, it can't go anywhere. And we're basically zeroed out against our case now. So if I turn this, it's not going to cut. It just barely rubbing the mouth of the case. So I needed to take about 3 thousandths off. You adjust your cutting depth with these 2 jam nuts here. And I've got these just tight enough. I've tightened them by hand so they don't spin. They're pretty tight on the shaft, but I'm able to move them by hand. And I'm going to move it maybe a 1/16 of a turn counterclockwise. And then all you're going to do is rotate your handle. I don't know if you can hear that cutting a little bit. Go until it stops cutting. Loosen your cam lock, take your shell out, measure. And that got us about 2 thousandths. So I'm going to put the shell back in, and I'm going to loosen this about maybe another 1/16 of a turn, maybe not even that. I'm going to take a cut, take it back out and measure again. I'm really close. I'm at about 2.036 now. I think I'll go a tiny bit more. Try to get exact there. So 2.035, that's my trim length. So now that I've got this set up, I can take my other 2 shells, put those in, lock them down. I should just be able to cut until it quits cutting. Take it out, measure. 2.035. So once you get this set up, the first one takes quite a while to get the depth set up. But once you're set up, it actually goes pretty quick. And once you're set up, that one actually is a little long. I'm going to put it back in. trim a little more. Sometimes you can't tell if it's quite done trimming. There we go. So yeah, once you get it set up, you can usually, I'll run several shells and then I'll measure one every 3 or 4 just to make sure I'm still within my tolerances. So in conclusion, I'd have to say that I've been pretty happy with this little Hornady case trimmer. It's pretty easy to use, and for $80, it's not bad for the price. It's constructed very well. Everything fits together nicely. Seems to work pretty good. If you can't afford a high dollar electric case trimmer, I would highly recommend this Hornady trimmer. For the money, it's a pretty good little unit.